Right, so it is night 138 of my attempt to plant a tree every day for 2023. I missed my window of daylights, but let's get on with it anyway. Right, so today we're going back to an area where I previously planted a tree, and I do this a lot. I do crowd my trees generally, but this is more of a sort of creating a potential replacement, because where I planted the Paranari Curatelifolia a while ago, when I talked a little bit about Livingston's Heart and the memorial in Lavushimanda, that little tree is really not showing any signs of springing back to life after it first got sunburned quite badly. So I'm not giving up on it completely. It's been off the list for a long time, but I'm not assuming it's completely dead, because a lot of our native trees can really spring back quite surprisingly from their root when they've seemed completely dead. But just in case it is, I don't want to sort of wait another year to decide whether I'm planting another tree here, so I'm going to be putting in a tree that, if the Paranari does come back to life, this will be a sub-canopy, and if it doesn't, it'll be a decent canopy to create a nice light shade over this area where I can plant other things underneath, things like coffee, which need a little bit more shade, and won't be too fussy about the fact that the soil here is really not great, because this is like digging into sandstone. It's very, very solid. And we're actually putting in an unusual marker this time. Usually we put in the Dracaena fragrans, but today we're going to be going with a Yucca gigantea, which I've only used as a marker once previously, but we got given a whole bunch from someone's garden the other day, and this one was just a little bit too long to be rooting a bag, and I didn't really have a spot that I wanted it to go in as a permanent fixture yet. So I thought it can root in here, it can be the shelter while this is setting up, and then it can be propagated to elsewhere once this tree has taken off. If this tree doesn't take off, of course, yuccas are quite a good shade plant if I did want to plant coffee here. They are really good in the fact that they grow straight. You can put in a whole pole, so you can have an instant canopy, and then if it gets a little bit too dense, you can chop all the heads off them, let all the light through, and when the season gets a little too sunny again for the coffee, you can let the heads grow back in, and then, yeah, you just have a very manageable, very prunable canopy forming from that. But that is not the plan here. The plan here is that our little Terminalia manteli will come up. Now this is the Madagascar Umbrella tree, or sometimes called a Madagascar almond. It's a very beautiful layered tree. It's very sort of striking as an ornamental. It's possibly a little bit overplanted around Lusaka, but it's a nice shade tree for planting vines up, for planting other more sensitive trees underneath. And if the Paranari is going to come back, what will happen is it'll probably end up starting out in the shade of this, which will make it a little bit easier for it to get its first little bits of growth in, and then it will eventually overtake this, and this will become the sub-canopy tree, which this is perfectly happy to be. We are then also going to be protecting that with a couple of our standard little sort of protection plants. So we're putting in a couple of pieces of Aloe cameroni, which will spread out and form a nice little sort of fireproof and browser-proof thicket around the base of this, so even if something does decide to eat the tree, hopefully once the aloe has spread out, it won't be able to eat it all the way down, which will mean there's a stump for it to regenerate from. And to protect smaller things from nibbling the tree and diseases from getting to the tree, we're going to be putting on our toxic barrier of Kalinko fetchinkoi, which is very standard at this point. So that should be everything for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you haven't enjoyed it, thank you for watching anyway. Please tune in again tomorrow. I will be planting another tree, but then I probably won't be for a while after that, and I'll talk about that tomorrow.